What's up, you guys? Welcome to another episode, and today we're going to be talking about how you can travel for free. Now, I did read a while back that they did a study and they interviewed, I think, 10,000 people on their deathbed, and they said basically the question was, if you can do anything differently, if you have any regrets, what is that? And the number one and number two things that unanimously were said were people want to spend more time with their family and they want to travel more. So if traveling is a big thing for you, if that's something that you've always aspired to do, you just haven't because of financial reasons, because of work, for whatever reason, I'm going to go over a way you can travel for free, or basically for free, in this video. So a while back, I was working for the FBI, and I was having, I had a decent pay, but it just wasn't enough for me to basically, make a ton of money. So I knew I had an apartment at the time that I purchased. I just put 5% down, and when I was considering quitting my job, I was trying to see, my goal was to basically travel the world. I had traveled, kind of long durations before, but I wanted to do a real proper trip, like a backpacking trip. I always wanted to go to Europe and, spend 6 months there. So I was planning a year, and I was trying to figure out, well, how can I do that? I have this mortgage. Otherwise, traditionally, people would say if you have a mortgage, you basically can't do anything. You're too busy paying off the mortgage and stuff like that. So, I was trying to figure out a way I can leverage what most people would consider a liability into an asset in order to leverage what I have to basically accomplish my mission or my goals of traveling the world. So, Airbnb was getting really popular at the time, vacation rental. I'm not sure how it is in your market, live in an area of Honolulu, Hawaii, where there's a ton of people vacationing here, and hotels are expensive, and the amount of places to stay that people, while they visit here are quite limited and or expensive. So, my friend and I got together and we said, hey, why don't you Airbnb it? It was a huge risk for me because I could have been in Europe and Africa and wherever, and if there was an issue in the apartment, I couldn't really do anything about it. So I got real lucky, and I got in touch with a cleaner, a local cleaner, and they were basically able to kind of double up as the property manager / cleaner. So basically what ended up happening was when I took off, I hired that person to basically clean and then also manage the property. Now, fortunately, knock on wood, nothing happened. That was too major in that 1 year that I was gone. So I was very fortunate and lucky. Anything could have happened, but yeah. So that person ended up. It was actually a couple who were cleaning and managing the property. So basically, I would send them a screenshot of the calendar of the guests arriving and checking out, and I'll give it to once a month, and then they would basically go in like clockwork and and do the cleaning and stuff like that. So I had a lockbox set up outside to where the cleaners had an extra set of keys, so they can go in and out. But the lockbox was set up, and the guests were able to basically check in without anyone being there, and then check out without anyone being there as well. So they would just, we utilized a lockbox that was located outside the building. So basically, what this system is it's Airbnb rental. I'm not sure if you guys have used Airbnb before. It's a fantastic platform. I'll put the link down below, where you can basically rent out someone's apartment, rent out their room, rent out their entire place, and you pay them directly a fee. Airbnb does take a little bit of a cut in that, but it's a great way to travel. I've met some amazing hosts who are able to provide us local recommendations. It's an entirely different experience than staying at a hotel. The hotel experience, it's more very commercial. You check in, and then there's maybe not customer service, but with the Airbnb, oftentimes you're able to people who are traveling are able to save a lot of money. For one, it may be cheaper, and secondly, if it has a full kitchen, for example, you can cook at home versus having to eat out every single meal. So it's become really popular. It's a really popular alternative nowadays to renting a hotel for those benefits that I just described. So I had the one apartment. It was being rented out. It was generating really good rental income. I'm here in Honolulu in Waikiki. I was able to fetch anywhere between like $110 and $150 a night. I did set the auto pricing feature on Airbnb. So Airbnb basically takes and does all its analytics as far as the seasonality. If there are more people coming, and if there are less bookings, then they basically automatically adjust the price so that you can get the maximum amount of dollars. So yeah, it would range between $110 a night and $150. So On average, if you calculate it out, the gross income per month was about $4,500. Now, I'll remind you that this condo I purchased only for $250,000. So to get $4,500 in gross rental income is a lot. Now, you do have to minus your mortgage, your condo fees, your property taxes, your insurance, and your cleaning. But at the end of the day, the cash flow was about anywhere between $1,200 and $1,500 a month. So $4,500 for gross income, all expenses set and paid for. I was still able to cash flow $1,200. So imagine having a condo or your house, and you basically had someone else renting it out, short-term or long-term rental, and being able to profit every single month after month, about $1,200. Now, for $1,200 extra, I mean, you could essentially, depending on where you live, have that cover your rent or your mortgage. So you can see how this process in the system is very, very lucrative. It can provide a lot of passive income so that you are able to do what you want to do, whether it's traveling or whether it's picking up a new hobby, or maybe just like taking a few days off of work. Maybe not working as many hours or as many days. So really, the ultimate goal here is not just about traveling, but to leverage your income properties and real estate to have this steady stream of passive income. For me, that's real wealth, right? I mean, you can get rich off of get rich quick kind of things, and you can generate a lot of cash fast. But is it sustainable, right? Real estate, for one, that I've noticed, is a sustainable way to generate passive income where you have the appreciation value. So I mean, there are multiple benefits, right? You can write off your taxes or your interest on the mortgage. The asset that you own is only appreciating over time, and as you make payments on it, you now own a larger portion of that mortgage, and then ultimately, after your 25-30-year mortgage, you own it free and clear. Now that $4,500 gross or $1,200 cash flow is now fully cash flowing at the $4,500 if you decide to continue to do it. So you got to think long term. This isn't something you can do overnight, but the system that I'm kind of sharing with you guys is, again, a way that you can create passive income so that you're able to do what you want to do in life. So I was able to travel. I took off. I mean, it was really cool. I was in Sweden, for example, for a month. I was staying with a buddy of mine on his farm. I remember very vividly being at this place, and I was like horseback riding in Stockholm, and just so beautiful. I mean, I love riding horses, and I was seeing and experiencing new cultures, and I went to go check my bank account, and it actually went up. I mean, could you imagine that? Could you imagine backpacking the world? I mean, seeing and experiencing and eating all the foods and just being free to do basically whatever you want, and then seeing your bank account, the number on that, actually go up. So it was a very, very cool thing. It was actually it was a pinnacle point in my life to where I realized that I do need to have more sources of passive income so that I can continue to kind of live my life the way that I want it. I mean, that's ultimate freedom. So, in most months, I did save up a little bit before I left. I know I had about maybe $10,000 in savings, not much. I remember I sold my car and I was able to get some money from that. So I had a little bit of savings, but a majority of my travel was financed from the cash flow from my rental property. Again, it may be a little bit difficult to do with long-term rental in your market, but again, I'm just kind of sharing with you what I did on the vacation renting side. So the cash flow I was making from the apartment was basically financing a majority of my travels. Now, I was gone for 11.5 months. It's a long time. I did have to exhaust some of my savings, but another thing that I wanted to kind of discuss today was not only have a little bit of savings, but having passive income, but also on how you can travel on a budget. Now, you can obviously have more money to start, or you can spend less money while you're traveling in order to have the duration of traveling like I did, of 11.5, almost a year on the road. So let's go over a couple quick things that you can do to travel on the cheap. Number one, you can use Airbnb, or if you guys heard of Couchsurfing, again, I'll put a link of that on the bottom here. But if you haven't heard before, Couchsurfing.com is a community. It's a network. It's a website built basically for people traveling and want to experience and have a whole new, different experience of being in that new country or that area and not having to go to a hotel. So with Airbnb, you're renting someone's apartment, you're paying for it. With Couchsurfing, You basically link up with them on the website. You kind of share Instagrams and social media. You get to know them. You kind of do a little bit of social media stalking. And basically the host, whoever's hosting in that respective country, allows you to stay in their apartment for free. I know it sounds a bit crazy for everyone out there to think, you're going to go to this new country and you're going to stay on someone's couch, for 3, 4, 5 days, and you've never met them. What if they're a serial killer? Truth be told, if you've traveled before, it's a really friendly place out there. And it's actually not bad. Now, there's a disclaimer, anything can happen. I mean, it is an arrangement that's done online, so do your research. That's why I would highly recommend that you go on their social media, their Instagram, their Facebook, have a look at their photos, make sure they're not really serial killers. And then, obviously start up a conversation with them. You can message back and forth using Facebook. You can call them, have a Skype, Facebook session, or a FaceTime session. So yeah, just do your due diligence, and then when you get that comforting feeling, then you have a free place to stay. Now, why is this great? You're going to a new country, and I know there's like the popular tourist things to do. If you're going to Paris, for example, you can see the Eiffel Tower, you can go, to the Louvre, you can do all that. But really, for me, and I'm sure you may agree, but really the benefit of going to a new place is to really experience it like the locals, right? The local experience. So Couchsurfing has been an amazing experience for me. I've met so many different people from all country, all walks of life. I was fortunate enough to host people here in Hawaii. So people are looking to come from other countries to Hawaii, trying to save a little bit of money, but also experience the beauty that is here in Hawaii. So, I hosted, a lot of people when I first came here. Yeah, it's really as simple as that. You link up on Couchsurfing.com, you exchange a few messages, and they tell you an arrival date, and they basically show up at your doorstep, or you go pick them up, and and then you just basically get to know each other, and they sleep on your couch. It's free. It's good for them, they have a place to stay, and for you, you get to meet people from all walks of life. So I remember one time I hosted a couple from France, and they were both chefs back in their native country. So before I got home to work, they would message me and say, hey, what do you want to eat tonight for dinner? And I come home from a long day of work, and I had the best gourmet chefs preparing me dinner. So it was an unbelievable experience. So so you flip the script a little bit. So I hosted when I was here in Hawaii, and so when I was traveling, with the technology nowadays, I kept in touch with them using Facebook. So every now and then I'd post something and say, hey, fantastic. So I kept in touch with them. So those people that I hosted, I actually reached out to when I was traveling to see if I can stay with them, and they were more than happy to host, because in their eyes, they're just basically returning the favor. So that's a huge way you can save on expenses. When you're traveling, obviously food is going to be a huge expense, and also your accommodation. So if you're couch surfing, basically your lodging is free. Now you can't do this all the time. It takes a lot of logistics. So what I'm saying is you can leverage couch surfing to try to minimize your housing costs. You can always do, my backup of course was hostels. In some countries like Cambodia, you can stay in a hostel for $5 a night. Now traditionally in Europe and like Japan and some of those more developed countries, it's anywhere between like 35 and 55, or maybe even a little bit more, but again, cheaper than staying in a hotel. So again, for accommodations, which is going to be your largest expense, Airbnb, couch surfing, or hostels. Those three, I think, are going to be your best bets as far as saving the most amount of money on your lodging. Now, the second highest expense, or the most expensive thing that you're going to be using most of your money for, is food. Now, if you decide to eat out all the time, that's going to get quite expensive. Imagine being and staying in your hometown and then eating out, even if it's the cheapest place in town or the cheapest restaurant. Imagine eating out every single meal. That's breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Now, when you're traveling, for me at home, I usually eat 3 meals a day. When you're traveling, you can kind of get away with eating 1 or 2. You just might be in a really hot area, or you just might only be able to eat twice a day. Don't eat out. What I would recommend is, if you're staying in a hostel or an Airbnb or even couch surfing, wherever you're gonna stay at, make sure you're booking a place that has a full kitchen. Now, why a full kitchen? You can go to the grocery store. In a lot of countries, the grocery store is going to be your best bet to save a lot of money and be able to make your own food. Now, you can make food not only for that meal, but you can make enough so you can have maybe a few meals, right? So let's say, for example, on Monday, you cook a pasta spaghetti thing. Really cheap, pasta's cheap, spaghetti sauce is cheap, and you can get a little bit of meat. But I mean, that meal right there, which you could probably make 3 or 4 meals out of, is probably going to only run you a couple bucks, right? So, make sure you meal prep, right? So, you know, you go to the grocery store, you make your own meals and make that stretch. It's really, really, really a good way to save a lot of money versus going out to eat. Now, going out to eat is a big part of traveling, you know, to experience the food that the, you know, that the respective country or the city you're in is hosting, you know, to try the different foods. So definitely go out and eat. Try it, but I would say don't make it a regular habit. So, you know, mix in maybe 50-50 or maybe 70-30 of you eating out versus cooking your own food. Now, the benefit of hostels and doing couchsurfing is that sometimes the host cooks at home, right? And you can kind of pitch in, you know, for the ingredients, and then you guys can have like, you know, a family style dinner at home. Or if you're staying in a hostel, you can basically, you know, pull your money together and eat together, you know, saving money there. So yeah, so the first thing, of course, is lodging. Use Airbnb, Couchsurfing, or hostels. Your second biggest expense is food. Definitely go to the grocery store. And regarding food, alcohol. Alcohol is a big thing. I remember when I was traveling, I mean, fortunately for me, I don't drink alcohol, so I was able to save a lot of money, but I remember traveling and then people were kind of, you know, grumbling about a few meals, you know, a few dollars out of the meal and saying, oh, I'm not gonna get that, I'm not gonna get this. And then come Friday night, Saturday night, you see them at the bars and they spend $40, $50, $60 on alcohol, you know? Now, have fun while you're traveling, but what I'm saying is alcohol is a big expense for backpacking and for people traveling. So if you can cut down on the drinking, then you can save a lot of money and maybe use that the money that you save towards more adventurous stuff. You know, maybe you can do another tour, maybe you can go do you know, anything that's more experience-based rather than getting drunk on the weekend. So again, it's a balancing thing. You know, you're not gonna wanna eat or cook at home all the time because that's not what traveling's about. So, you know, split your budget out as far as eating out and cooking at home. Split your budget between staying at Couchsurfing and hostels, and then split your budget and your time also between, you know, really going out and drinking, partying hard versus, you know, experiencing other things with that same budget. So yeah, in a nutshell, that's kind of how I was able to travel the world basically for 11.5 months, not free of charge, but really, really cheaply. And without the rental income creating that passive income for me, it would have been very difficult, if not impossible, for me to do that. So if you want to quit your job and you want to dream and you want to have this experience of traveling the world, which you've always thought you wanted to do, and I know you do, then look into getting that passive income, having some sort of stream of income source that can help you finance, you know, such a long trip. Now, if you want more details, I'll put my information down low. Feel free to message me or email me or call me, and I'll tell you a little bit more about the system on how it worked it. But if you want to travel long term, or if you want to pick up a hobby or work less, passive income, passive income, passive income. It is the one source or the only way you can really create generational long-term wealth and do it very, you know, at a very high percentage, and almost guarantee that you're going to reach that point to where you can essentially retire when you want to. And for me, you know, getting rich is one thing, but for me, it's to build real financial wealth, which in turn means that you know, I'm basically free of anything that I need to do for money. So yeah, so hope that helped. I hope you, if you liked the video, go ahead and subscribe and like this video. Again, I'm making this video for myself. I've made a dedication to myself and a commitment to make at least one video to start a week. And we're gonna probably amp it up to 2 or 3 a week. And it's basically for me to share, you know, some of the things that I think would bring some value to you guys. And again, if you have any questions, comment down below, please subscribe. And then I'll see you on the next episode. Thanks guys, aloha.